Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for staying around and working with us on our vote schedule today. Our Declaration of Independence was unique in that it introduced into the world a profound set of ideals to be perfected in subsequent generations. And that was that there were certain inalienable rights that were given to mankind, and they weren't a grant from government, but they were a gift from God. And the Declaration of Independence went on to state that among these were life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it is notable that those ideals upon which the rest of the rule of law under which we live is all based on that first essential right, and that is the right to life. With the Dobbs decision, in a single day, millions gained that right that had been taken away previously. And if we look at the development of science over the last 50 years, I was born in 75, just a couple years after Roe, and ultrasounds are very rare. I asked my mom for my ultrasound, and there was not one to be found. There isn't one because of that. And when Roe was being argued, even the dialogue at the time was that it was a blob of tissue that was in development. And we know so much more now than we did before. And we know that a child at 6 weeks, we can even detect a heartbeat. We know that science is even showing us that a child can feel the pain of an abortion. And so there's a lot of misinformation that's happened since the Dobbs information that I thought we would need to address. As a matter of fact, the chair said that the Dobbs decision was, and I quote, undemocratic in the sense of, could you speak to, Ms. Hawley, the Dobbs decision and if it's undemocratic or not?
Certainly, Congressman Cloud. So the Dobbs decision is not anti-democratic. It is an act of judicial modesty. It's a decision in which the majority clearly explains that the Constitution's text, structure, and history are absolutely silent on a right to an abortion. And as Justice Alito explains, that means that we, the people, get to debate this issue, to decide this issue, and the Supreme Court got out of the business of legislating abortion.
So, if anything, it restored a democratic process to the discussion of abortion.
Absolutely. Justice Alito's opinion leaves it to the people.
That's my understanding as well. It was also said that this was pro-life people who embrace this are extremist, draconian, is how this decision was. We've heard about its threats to democracy and all those sorts of things. When we talk about extremism and draconian, can you compare where the United States stands in relation to other countries when it comes to abortion?
Absolutely. So under Roe versus Wade, the United States was one of the most extreme and most permissive nations on abortion in the entire world. We were one of only 7 countries in the world, including countries like China and North Korea, who have horrible human rights records, to allow abortion up until the moment of birth for any reason at all.
So that's so very rare. We're not on the right side of that. Are there any state laws that would prosecute women for an abortion?
There are not, no. There are no state abortion laws, no, that would prosecute women for abortion.
Any federal?
No.
Because we've heard that a lot about that. Could you speak to ectopic pregnancies and abortion? Because we keep hearing that that's an issue as well.
Thank you so much for that question. I think ectopic pregnancies are an issue of, as you said, misinformation. There have been social media posts suggesting that women won't get treated for an ectopic pregnancy because doctors might be afraid of performing the procedure, but that's absolutely false. An ectopic pregnancy, treatment for an ectopic pregnancy is not in fact an abortion. An abortion is the intentional taking of a human life. An ectopic pregnancy is a tragic situation in which the baby is developing outside of the womb, and treatment for that, as Planned Parenthood has recognized, is simply not an abortion.
Now, you spoke to what is the norms in the world. Both you and I think, believe that life begins at conception, and this is a question of life, ultimately, and that's what makes it so difficult, and why this is such a the views are so deep-seated when it comes to this. But when it comes to what's normal, the Democrats have proposed two bills that we'll be voting on Friday, H.R. 8296 and H.R. 8297. And these bills would, among other things, allow for abortion because of disability, what sex the child is, what race the child is potentially. There's provisions in it to serve as an end around parents being involved in their child's life. There's ambiguous language that could potentially force pro-life doctors, many who their faith would dictate to them that this is not a proper thing to do, to perform an abortion. And what's troubling to me is also we've gone from the left from wanting it to be rare, supposedly, to now we want taxpayers to fund it, not only in our country to pay for other people's abortions, but also for abortions